This is the Wandering Mike.
Well, welcome everyone to Wandering Mike, and it's a bit weird me saying that. It's a bit strange. It should have been you saying that, but let me explain. Let me explain. So, Mike, you've interviewed so many people on your travels in Australia and all over the place, and I think it's about time we flipped it on you. So, hello, Mike.
Hey, Jordan.
How are you? How does it feel? Does it feel weird to be on the other side?
To be honest, I'm excited. When you told me about the idea, I immediately said yes. I told you, Jordan, yeah, I'll do it. I'll face your questions. I'm excited. Doesn't feel weird yet. I'm open to it. I'm just gonna be seeing what comes upon me today, and
I was going to say, because it must feel like a really strange situation being on the other side of it. Because I know you've recorded me, you've recorded so many other people from the hostel and everywhere else, and it must feel a bit weird and strange.
I mean, you definitely. I mean, I'm not in control. It's definitely different than the other times because, yeah, I'm not being in control. But maybe that's also kind of no. I'm actually excited for it because there's nothing to be expected of me. You know,
I do feel like this could turn into like the back home. Piers Morgan used to do a program called Life Stories where he would give like celebrities and
right.
he'd be interviewing the celebrities and ask them, "So, this about your life?" And I feel like this is a weird. This could be kind of that version. Maybe the start of a new podcast for me.
I
I
like
highly
that.
doubt it.
You know why I like that, Jordan? Because you basically just called me a celebrity.
Yeah, you are a celebrity. But... So we're recording this. Yeah. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How's the last few weeks, months been? What's new? What's going on with you?
That's a heavy question to start with. Basically sitting here right now, the episode probably gonna come up next Friday, but right now that we're recording it, we're like 5 days out from me and Kevin leaving. So, we're basically at the end of my journey here in Fremantle and at Pirates. That's why it's also a good question. It's a great question, actually, to kind of sum up my time here. It is an interesting question because the time has been quite eventful here. Um, I would say overall, think my time here has again been very valuable. A lot of things have happened, a lot of ups, a few downs, but overall, I would say a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of people to connect with, a lot of people to take things away from, a lot of people to interact with, a lot of people to learn from, how to navigate different people as well. You know, it's a thing that I'm always trying to better. It's just my overall role in this world, trying to see what kind of role can I authentically take so that it fits me, but it also actually helps everyone. So um, I right now today I feel like that's probably because people don't know you postponed it as well. We were supposed to do it yesterday, and we're doing it this morning, and I do feel like this morning is the perfect time because I have kind of come to terms with everything that has happened here, and I've kind of all these experiences led to me where I am now. But yeah, overall, I don't even know if you meant that question as deep as you did. Overall, I'm good. I enjoyed my time, man. I did enjoy my time.
As deep, but no, I was asking because you're about to go on your hollybobs. You're about to go on holiday.
Yes,
You like my British euphemisms. I come out with loads of stuff, and you're like, oh, yeah, funny. So you're going on your hollybobs.
yes.
You're going to
Eating some chocky bicky.
Some chocky bicky. Yeah, going to get some chocky bickies on the plane. Knowing Jetstar will be about $10-$20,
Probably.
very overpriced. But yeah, you're going to go on your holidays now, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But I want to know about because I want our viewers to get to know about you. So I want to
Right.
go back. Let's go back right to the beginning. So
Right.
growing up in Germany, family life. Talk to me about it. Let's get to know you, Mike. Tell me you.
Right. So basically, I grew up in Germany in a little town called Allershausen, which is 33 something ish kilometers away from the center of Munich. So Munich being the next big city. And in hindsight, I really loved growing up there. Not only in hindsight, obviously, but because especially now, I lived in a lot of big cities. Like my adult life, I basically lived in a lot of, and probably gonna get to that, but I lived in a lot of cities. So I always do, and I enjoy living in cities, but I always appreciate that part of growing up rurally. I think for me, it really was the best way to grow up rurally. So we were like really close um, to nature. We had like forests that we could just walk into, like 15 minutes walking from my house. I'm like in the maybe even 10, maybe 5, and I'm in the forest, So you're like really connected to nature still. When I was growing up as well, like I did have a phone, I think when I was 12 years old. I got my first phone. It was
What did you have?
like a Nokia. It was like
That's going old school.
like yay big, like a small grayish one, with like a square of a display, and then you had like all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oh,
6, 7, 8,
you
9.
know what I loved about Nokias and also the tune. That's just an odd yeah. But yeah, no, I love that. I can imagine you with a Nokia phone.
And yeah, basically all we had the phones for back then was to call our parents in cases of emergency. So um why I brought up phones is because without all that technology, we were just, like going out, all these things that now I don't know if they're happening anymore, knocking at your friend's house, parents opening up, it's like, is Max home? We're gonna go play some football, and then yeah, we'll tell him, and then everyone just meets in the like meets at the football court and just kicking some balls, um, doing some teenage stuff, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, basically that's me growing up rurally. I was also very like it was a very good upbringing in the sense of that that's my sister and we never really felt that anything lacked. So there was never any sense of lack at all. Um, so therefore it was a very, very secure upbringing. Which I think, again, also more in hindsight, is a very important thing and a thing that not everyone gets to have.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. It's very nowadays it's very strange, isn't it? Because I grew up with my grandparents, as I told you before,
Yeah.
and I was saying about how they brought me, and also it was kind of rural life, being family. You could even knock on doors and stuff, but nowadays it's just do people still do that? I honestly don't know, and as you said, who knows? But yeah, no, it must be like growing up. You must have had that experience of like, wow, things are very different now to when they were when I was younger.
Yeah. I mean, I do talk about these things, and I do say I'm not the biggest fan of technology and all that. Um, I don't want to make myself sound too old. I said like like the good old days, not and all that. Um, but no, I mean, I definitely see the difference. It's even just like you said, are people still doing that? I think people still are knocking on doors, but then I've talked to actual friends of mine and they tell me, like, seriously, like, I'm not gonna open up the door if you don't text me first. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well, what's the door for then? Like,
yeah.
like, but yeah, I guess that's how it changes because now you can be available like wherever you are, just on the phone. And That's a good thing. I don't know.
Was your growing up, were your parents like very like protective, like of, protective of you, and like because you're growing up into this unknown world, unknown time. Did your parents like teach you a lot of like lessons growing up, as they've kind of helped you in everyday life growing up from when you were younger to getting your Nokia to now with your phone, which isn't an iPhone. I don't know what it is, but did your yeah. So the question I was asking is, has your parents influenced you during your time growing up?
Most definitely. I would say one. I don't know. I just thought about saying it out loud, and it's going to sound a bit weird, but it is, in my opinion, the truth. Because they were, on one side, they were protective. Um, they were, in some situations, maybe overprotective, which obviously is fine because we're all human. And I mean, they're parents for the first time, right? Just they've never done it before. Um, as
Because you're the older sibling. Yeah.
yes, yes, I am. So basically, they were protective in a way of, yeah, just making sure that I can handle everything and stuff. But then on the other hand, they were also very um acceptant, or at least no, I mean we can go with acceptance, but like also just respecting of me doing what I'm doing, because very early on, like I I don't think that my parents ever, I'm pretty sure there was hope, but I don't know if they ever genuinely thought that I was gonna go through like this ideal career path. I think like there was a lot of signs early on with me saying I'm gonna be an actor, I'm gonna be like a rap superstar, and all these kind of
I could see you
things.
being an actor, I could see you being on TV and in films, and I could have seen you doing that.
I can see myself doing.
Never say never.
I mean, what's his name? Harrison Ford
Oh yeah,
became an actor with 35, so I got 5 years.
and he's like what 90? He's still alive. He's still going. He's still alive and kicking.
Probably. My mom loves him. That's why.
Harrison Ford's good.
That's why I'm always using him. But yeah, by now he's probably he
He's
is.
about 90. Did that with that sense of like knowing what you wanted to do when you were growing up, did that kind of reflect like what you were doing in school and college? 'Cause, I don't really know a lot about the school system in Germany. Like you don't know, you don't know about the school system in the UK.
Yeah.
We've had discussions, but we've talked about this before. But yeah, did that influence? Like, I'm going to be an actor. Did that influence you when you was at school? I mean, what's school? What was school like? Tell me about school in Germany, because I've heard bits and pieces from my cousin who lives out in Germany when they were younger. But it's always nice to hear like a different person's perspective of it. So tell me about school.
Right. So, I mean, the thing about like my creative things is I never pursued acting. That was just kind of a, because we also like my family consumes a lot of media, especially like TV shows and movies. So it was all around. So I think that was just one of the things. I mean, sitting here right now, I would love to just try acting for a bit and just see if it actually is something for me. But I think in hindsight, because actor, I think, was the first one that popped in my head. Maybe it was just because like film
Mm.
was all around. Um, but like the school system in Germany, it doesn't really cater to a lot of extracurriculars. So it is in that sense relatively strict. So everyone kind of has to do the same curriculum. There's like very few things that you can change about it. Like you can adapt, like you can choose to go into learning a second or rather a third language, because everyone in Germany has to learn English as a second language.
Yeah. What did you learn? Did you learn a third language?
I did. So what I did is, so you start with English in grade 5 back when I went to school. I
Yeah.
think now they start earlier.
Okay.
They start really early with English. So that was grade 5, and then in grade 6 was when you can make that distinction. So you can choose, do I want to go into the mathematical path of school by taking, I think it was chemistry. Um, because you have like maths, physics,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all these
yeah.
kind of things. Like you have German, you have maths, you have physics, you have like history, like all these kind of basic things.
When you say German, you mean like literacy, reading and writing? You mean that? Yeah, yeah.
Yes, like grammar, all these kind of things, like writing analyses of poems, all that. That's what we did in like German class.
Don't ask me for translation because I can't remember. But by that, I did learn it in school. Well, I did half learn it in school, and then with family being German, but I can't remember what it was in German. I'll leave our viewers to guess what it is and have a look on translator. The translator is never right though.
Right. So basically, yeah. So I then went into, because the school I went to was a mathematical school. So that's also, you can kind of, some schools are more known for their mathematical, some are more known for their like like German, for example, like more literacy and stuff like that, or more like history and these kind of things. So I was on a mathematical school, which I liked because I like sciences and math, but I also love languages. So being on the mathematical school, I then went into the language tree. So instead of taking chemistry in 6th grade, I took Latin. So my third language in um is Latin. So I started learning Latin, and then in grade 8, you can choose again, and then you can add. So you have Latin. So now you can either add, um, now you can go sciencey again, or you can go even more languagey. And then I added French.
Okay.
So in school, I learned English, Latin, and then French.
That's quite interesting because I know my cousin told me about like he learned Latin, he learned English, well, because his dad was English. My other cousin, so he learned English that way, but then he also learned Latin, which I didn't. I mean, I don't know. You could learn in school, and if
Right.
back home you went to like the grammar schools, and because they still do it. It's in the private schools and grammar schools, they still teach Latin.
Right.
And then no French. Well, yeah, I still didn't know you could do that in Germany. Did you go to university?
I
Did you go to
did.
university? What did you study at university?
So I studied environmental technology and development.
Mm,
So basically, how that came across is, I always I always wanted to spend my time across, like, not in Germany, so overseas. And the first time I did that was actually while I was in school still. Yeah. So what you can also do in Germany is you have this thing where, because we have 12 years of school basically, 9 of them are mandatory. So after 9th grade, if you choose to, you can take like your standard, um, like GSD or whatever. I don't know what it's called in Britain, but like your standard qualifications, and you can go work after 9 years of school.
yeah.
Then you can do 10 years, the 10th year of school, and you have like a slightly better um, qualification, and you can go off to work. Or you can do 11th and 12th, and with that qualification, you can go on to university.
Okay.
So that's how it works in Germany. So after 10th grade, then you can choose to actively take a break, what I did. So after 10th grade, I said I want to do a break here and I want to go to the United States to go to high school there. So I went to high school basically in Virginia for my 11th grade. It never counted towards my qualification in Germany because for them it was a break, but for me it was a whole school experience. I still learned, I still took tests, like it was a full year of school that just never showed up in my records. So that being said, and me enjoying that like tremendously, when it was time then to decide, am I gonna study? And to be honest, it never really felt like a question of, am I gonna study? If I'm completely honest, it felt like a question of what am I gonna study? because I feel like it was kind of expected to study, especially if you do the 12 years,
Yeah.
and so then the next logical step is to study. And yeah, so then I was like, yeah, what can I study that interests me and that also gives me the opportunity to go overseas again? So I found this bachelor, basically environmental technologies and development work, which combined renewable energies, but also looking at third world countries and how we can help those countries. And as part of the bachelor, I got to spend 1 year in Jakarta in Indonesia, where I also studied for 1 year. So that was part of the reason why I took it. Um, so long story short, I actually studied it because I was interested in the topic, gave me the opportunity to go across. So I really did it just for what it offered up to me. Never really thought I would work in it anyway. I never thought, okay, I'm gonna do it because afterwards I'm gonna be working on a solar farm. Like I never had this side. At the point I was just like, this is interesting. Let's see.
I like that. That's actually quite cool to us because I know, like, some people go to university and then they do the jobs, they do whatever they want to do because they want the job in it. But it's
Mm,
very rare to get people to go, I'm going to do this because I'm actually quite interested in it, and maybe I could get a job in this in the future. Maybe I don't, it'd be nice to do something. That's actually quite interesting. But you said about Jakarta and Indonesia. I want to,
yeah,
and also you mentioned about Virginia. So I want to go back to Virginia.
sure.
Let's go back. So school in America. Yeah, I didn't know you went to school in America. So, what was that like? What was that like in, because Virginia's a really nice state as well.
It is.
If anyone in history, if anyone who's listening to podcasts is a history person, knows Virginia, like one of the original 13 colonies. But yeah,
Sir.
what was that like? Well, that must have been an amazing experience.
Oh yes. Yes, Jordan, it definitely was amazing. You know, I told you about growing up with a lot of American tel- oh, well, I said television,
Yeah,
like we a
yeah.
lot of TV shows and movies, and most of that was American westernized media. So growing up with all these American movies, it literally walking in felt like I'm in High School Musical. It really is like it's portrayed in the movies. It's um in the best way, though, in the best way. So what I really love about the concept of school in the United States is that, um, in comparison to Germany, as I've said, where it is very strict and it's about like learning the academically relevant things. In the United States, that's part of it, but they also have a big focus on extracurricular things. So school there is very structured, and in Germany, like school starts at 8 and then it ends at 1 o'clock. And but some days you have 2 or 3 days per week where you have longer lessons. So sometimes you stay until 3, sometimes you stay until 4. Um, and in the United States, every single day is the exact same. So you start at 9 and you end at 3 o'clock. You always have the same thing going on every day. You take your same lunch time, all these things. So it's very structured. And what is
Did you wear uniform?
I did not. Where I went, which was a public school, there was no uniform. There was a dress code.
Yeah.
There was a dress code, but there was no uniform.
So, because how old were you when you went to the States now?
I just turned 16.
So when you went there, did you think you're going to go to a school, brand new school, and then you don't have to wear a uniform? You must have been like, this is very surreal, or like you said, very High School Musical, and you're going to a school where you're going, yep, this is very similar to what I've seen on the TV and films and that.
Yeah. Um, to be honest, I mean the whole uniform thing isn't a thing in Germany either. So to me, that was never really there. Um, there was a private school that we hung out with a lot of people that went to that private school as well in the same district where I went to school, and they had uniforms. So I saw how all that looks as well. Like everyone like penguins walking into school, all looking alike. Um, but I mean, I guess over the years, my opinions on uniforms also gotten differently because I used to like not think a lot of the idea. I was like, why would you even introduce that idea? But then I'm also like, well, it is kind of effective because it takes away or like it minimizes a lot of energy because you don't need to be in the morning like, oh, what I'm going to wear because it's not even a question. So in that regard, and it's also like, oh, maybe if your parents can't afford the designer like clothings, it's like, oh, look what I don't know, Max is wearing. Um, so I see more and more the good parts of it as well. So yeah, I don't really mind either way. I think about uniforms.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just yeah, that's quite fascinating and interesting about going to school in the States and that. Did you there for a year? Was it a year? Was you there?
Yes, it was a school year pretty
Yeah.
much. So it was I think from September to June or July.
Yeah.
July was when I was there, and yeah, and the point I was saying was because of that structure, it did give the opportunity to then do extracurriculars because you knew every single day at 3 o'clock school is going to be over.
Yeah.
So then there was a block from 3 to 6 for extracurriculars. So obviously you didn't have to, but a lot of people do just because it's offered. So what I did in my first, like in the first half of the year, I did football, American football.
American football.
To make it clear, I did American football, and but didn't have to be sports. You know, I had friends that did band. That happens from
Oh,
teacher
yeah,
six. I
yeah.
had friends that did drawing. That happens from teacher six, and like that's why I really like the idea of giving a whole spot every day for your hobbies. I think that is great, and that school is doing that because you do have these things in Germany, and I also learned the guitar in music school in Germany.
Yeah.
But you had to go outside the school, and I think it is kind of cool for school to combine everything, for school to offer everything, because then you're already in one place and uh yeah, you can go learn everything right at one place. I quite like that concept of it all.
Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it? I do like the American concept, and I feel like that's kind of slowly that's kind of creeping into like school system. I know when I was in school, they didn't have a lot of like activities, but then since
Mm.
I left school, they're doing like my school particularly, they're doing a lot of more activities stuff and that. You said guitar, so you played instruments growing up? Did you learn guitar? Could you sing? I've seen you singing around the hostel.
um well, so the first instrument I ever learned was the flute. um it's a thing in Germany, I think in French as well, because I've talked with Kevin a lot of
Yeah.
French, who also said like they started learning the flute as the first instrument. And yeah, so that was in like my first grade of school, I think. There was like an after school thing where you started to learn the flute. Um, and then I don't, yeah, I think that me and my sister said that we wanted to learn the guitar. Um, Not completely sure in hindsight. Maybe it was just a thing of, oh yeah, everyone's learning guitar now. You're learning guitar now as well. But I do feel like we wanted to. I actually started it with my sister. So we went to music school to learn guitar, and I think I did it for 5 7 years.
Can you still remember? Like, can you give Kevin a run for his money now?
No, I got but it's still I play occasionally, like, when
Ah,
when he's on the guitar. Sometimes when, I'll take his guitar and we'll just play something
okay,
together.
I like that.
So yeah, but the guitar is basically the only instrument I actively learned. Um, that my best friend, he had a band. He had, like, a indie rock band. Um, and so that's my best friend that I knew from, like, 1st grade on. But then I also had my circle of friends, like, more in the actual town I lived in.
Yeah.
Um, and with them, it was more we were listening more to hip hop and rap.
Okay.
And I was also this. just also without them, I was always interested in R&B, hip hop, rap, all this kind of music. Spoke to me a lot. Um, so with these friends, that we were just hanging out, kicking the ball around, and then being bored, we were kind of starting to rap a little bit,
Mm.
producing beats. So with those two influences, I also
I
got
like you the hand doing beats. Do beats. No. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Because I know you about your music thing. I don't know if some listeners won't know, but I saw you dancing to Phil Collins yesterday. And because you know, you really liked the song that was, I can't remember what song he was playing, but you really liked it. He was like, hey, dance around,
it was
showing up, and then you were like, I can't sing, and you're lifting someone up.
was Invisible Touch.
Ah,
So
invisible touch. Yeah, the good time. Yeah, I feel like so. Have you whether you're like growing up with the music and that, like even nowadays, like especially like when you've gone to school in the States and you've gone to school in Jakarta and been in school in Germany, do you feel like music has taken you on this journey as well? Like, has your journey has been influenced by music as well?
I mean, the thing about singing that I always say is, I I love music. Music is a big part of my life. I get a lot of energy from music, which I know not everyone does because sometimes when the song is playing and I'll just groove to it, I get the occasional, "Oh, you really?" Like, so I kind of get that it's not everyone's reaction to music, but the thing about singing, I honestly don't know if I'm any good at it, but I also don't care because I love to sing. So it's not that at all I ever thought about, yeah, singing is something that could turn into more than just something I enjoy.
Yeah.
Not at all, but I enjoy it immensely. So I will just sing along to every song I know when the song is on. Like, and if I don't know the song yet and it's a great song, I will like be mesmerized by it. I will groove to it. Yeah, I enjoy music immensely.
I do like I do like that. And I feel like we may have to have like a karaoke session before you go.
I feel like it was on the board.
I think it's on the board.
I don't know why we
I
didn't
think
do
we
it.
still need to do it on Sunday. But we're saying that about music and like
Oh yeah, we should do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that, right. Have a few drinks and it'll be okay. Um, that's what I always say. When so yeah, talk about music and influence. And being on a journey. So you've gone to school in Germany. You've gone to school in the States. You've gone to
Yes.
school in Jakarta. You've done
Yes.
university. What on earth made you come to Australia?
Right. So
What is your story of your travels? Because you've been to a few other places, and I think the question, like the main question, of course, why you come to Australia, but the question I want to get into the nitty gritty is another British term, nitty gritty. Did your influence of like being in the States and traveling in Jakarta, was that for what? Did that kind of influence you to like, maybe there's more to the world than just Germany?
um to be honest with you, I had that thought before I even went to the United States. So um yeah, just to back up a little bit again, and then I'll come right back to now. Um so my parents also took us traveling a lot, which I'm very grateful for. So very early on, we were traveling a lot, and we were traveling a lot to the United States because, again, my parents loved the culture as well. They loved the movies, so they wanted to go over there. And the first time I went to the States, I was maybe 10, maybe 11, um, maybe 9, somewhere around there. And we went to Miami, and yeah, it was really nice. And from there, I kind of because then it wasn't a feeling. I knew there was more to the world in Germany. Um, to my parents, it was always vacation. So to my parents, what we did was always very defined. In their world, yeah, it's those 2 3 weeks a year that we got off. We're gonna go and fly somewhere with the family. But to me, it was like this is kind of where I want to spend my time. I want to be exploring things. For me, it was more than just going on vacation to places. So, yeah, because of traveling a lot with my parents and they taken us a lot of places, that curiosity just was just there for me. And then basically how I came to Australia, to take you through that journey as well. Because after I finished my studies, and so now, you know, traveling a lot with my parents during the year in Virginia and studying during the year in Jakarta. And then I finished my studies, and like I told you, it wasn't like, yeah, I got this job ready. Oh, I want to jump into this career. So it was like, what am I gonna do? And the thought was, okay, maybe I'm gonna travel a little bit. Maybe I'm gonna do like a world travel kind of thing. And then COVID, because finished my studies the end of 2019. So then um, when COVID came around, I knew that there was not going to be a world travel. Well, to be honest, at first I was like, yeah, let's wait a month and do it then, because I didn't think it was going to.
Yeah, no,
No one
I
thought
don't
it.
think no one thought really, to be honest.
Um,
But then a month turned into a few months, and then
so then in July 2020 is when I decided, okay, this is not going to end soon. Um, I really don't want to stay in Germany, especially with COVID. Um, and then that's when I went to Portugal. So I found a job that you just needed to speak German for because it's a call center job.
yeah,
So customer support for the German market, but you will be based in Lisbon, Portugal. So I was like, great, that's a good
yeah,
like thing to pass the COVID, and then after the COVID, I can go travel again. Um, what happened in Lisbon is I fell in love with the city. Um, I actually really enjoyed the job as well of customer support, just because I feel like communication was always something that I was really drawn to and a topic that I really like to improve myself on as well. So just being forced by work to 8 hours a day speak with people, I really enjoyed that.
yeah,
I could take things away from that. I could see, okay, so I said this one thing and the customer got really pissed off. Okay, next time maybe don't say it. Maybe say it in a different way. And next customer says, oh, thank you so much. Okay, maybe use that. I really went into okay, what can I learn from this? How can I make this benefit my life, this job? And then because I yeah did that job genuinely because I wanted to learn from it. It promoted me like after like 9 months or something. It promoted me to trainer. So from that moment on, I basically was training the people that came in to the company, and we basically showed them how to use the software, how to interact with customers, all these things. And from that moment on, I loved my job. I had my friends. I loved the city. And for me, then that was just my life. So I ended up living there for 4 years. And after 4 years, I basically then said it's time to move on again. Because if I wasn't gonna leave Portugal, I would probably grow older. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but
no, because Portugal's, you've got the good weather, it's warm, and you're surrounded by water and
yes,
sunshine. So yeah. So did that then lead to Australia?
y- yes, indirectly.
Yeah.
So, so basically,
Sun and heat. Oh, I want to go somewhere warm.
yeah, what then happened was, yeah, I was saying, okay, I need to quit my job and I need to go somewhere else just because, I am so young. I have time now to explore everything. And the plan was I'm going to go to South America because being in Portugal, being surrounded by Brazilians as well,
Oh, yeah.
and just Latin culture, like Portugal, I think is the place in Germany and in Europe where it's the closest you can get to Latin culture. I think more than Spain, maybe even a little. So I felt so called to South America. So I basically quit my job and I told everyone I'm going to go to South America. So I still had I gave them, I think, 5 months notice, which I didn't have to, but I gave them 5 months notice. So after telling everyone I'm going to South America, there was still time I was working. And the more I was thinking about the actual plan, I think you need a bit more money to actually travel South America because it's difficult in those. It's harder to find a place where you can actually, legally work and get some money while you're traveling as well. So then the other thing was, okay, what else can I do to basically get on that journey?
Yeah.
And then I remembered that there's countries that do working holiday visas, and most prominently, there's Australia, and then there is New Zealand. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a working holiday, and then I'm gonna go to South America. And what happened is because when I was in Jakarta, and I traveled like a lot as well. I used my time to travel to Malaysia, to Thailand, to Singapore, um, Vietnam, Cambodia, and also Australia.
Yeah.
So I did fly from Jakarta to Melbourne, and I did a bit of a East Coast trip up to Cairns.
Yeah.
I did, 3 months.
I remember whenever those fans are just like, yeah, yeah. Did you when you came to Australia, did you think like you've been in Melbourne, you've been starting off in big cities, and you're like, right, what am I gonna do? And you're like, do I do the East Coast? Do I start the West Coast? Melbourne's in a good location because you're down in Victoria, and you're kind of like you can go anywhere, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you decided East Coast up to Cairns.
Yes, pretty much. So what happened is my parents actually came to visit me as well
Oh, wow,
because
okay.
after the year in Indonesia, they hadn't seen me for a year. Um, so, I mean, obviously, I was going to come back anyway to finish my studies. But, well, yeah, I mean, we'd love to see Australia as well because they've never seen it.
Yeah.
So they came over as well. So basically, it was part of what we all wanted to do. So because they also said, yeah, East Coast sounds good. Like Melbourne to Brisbane was pretty much the road trip that my parents did with me.
Yeah.
Um, Me and my sister actually was a whole family trip, and so that's why Melbourne, because that's where I met them. And then we went all the way up to Brisbane. And then from Brisbane, they flew back home, and I still had some time left. So I then did Brisbane to Cairns on my own. So I
Yeah.
did like all of Queensland, like Noosa, and I did
With
Airlie
Sundays
Beach.
and
Yes, um, it's called Fraser Island.
yeah,
No,
Fraser
not Fraser, but
Fraser Island. Oh, is it Gari now? I think they call it Gari now.
Mhm, yeah,
And they've gone back to their Aboriginal name.
yeah.
But yeah, so but you liked the East Coast. The East Coast is nice. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was in Cairns for a while, and then Sydney, and done a bit of Brisbane. And the East Coast is nice. And then you're like, right, done the East Coast. Let's see what the other side of the country's got to offer.
Pretty much. So, I mean, the first thing is because I didn't go straight to Australia. I did go to New Zealand
Oh yeah,
because I said, okay, you already know Australia, so you're gonna do New Zealand. So the original plan was 1 year in New Zealand and then South America.
yeah,
Then while I was in New Zealand, I was thinking, like, you're so close. Like you're so close. You're still that age where you can do it.
yeah,
In a year, I can't do it anymore. So why would I not go to Australia and earn some more money before I go to South America.
Well, I mean, if the European Union and Australia agree a trade deal, it could all change. You could stay longer. Fingers crossed.
Is that actually happening?
I think so. I mean, they've done it for the UK citizens. But I do know, like, from seeing the news and stuff, that I know the EU's trying to get a good trade agreement with Australia so they can try and extend, like, people who can stay.
Oh,
I
sure.
know,
That's
I
nice.
know it's going on. I mean, they've done it with the UK, so sure, the EU's gonna be next. But yeah, so New Zealand, and then you're deciding I can go back.
Yeah, and then I decided, let's do Australia as well. And yeah, like you said, then that was part of the thing as well. Down the East Coast, might as well position myself in the West Coast now for a bit. To start off at least, and
Yeah.
then see where it all goes. Said now it's Darwin to do to get the 88 days done. And then once we get those 88 days done, get our visa extended, we pretty much have yeah, better chunk of a year to just do whatever we want.
Yeah. And have you liked being in Perth, and have you liked being in Fremantle?
I love Fremantle.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about Perth, to be honest, because I haven't been in the city too much. I mean, I've obviously seen Kings Park. I've obviously walked around Elizabeth Quay.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that? Quay.
Key.
Elizabeth Quay.
Key, yeah.
Elizabeth Quay. And I mean, been to Northridge and all these things like a couple of times. Been to the AFL games,
Yeah.
up the stadium, all that. But I have to say, I really love living in Fremantle because it doesn't give you big city vibes. It's such a chill place. The architecture is nice. You know, you walk around, you have good vibes. It's a good place to just walk around.
I've never been to a few places in Australia still, because I'm still finding my feet.
Yeah.
Taking me 2 years, but I'm still finding my feet. But people I've spoken to, it's either Fremantle kind of reminds them of Melbourne, just with the architecture.
Mm.
Although I do know people in Fremantle hate people saying it looks like Melbourne.
Yeah.
But with the vibes and like the shops and the types of people here, I've never been to Byron Bay, but it reminds me of Byron Bay.
I've been to Byron Bay. That's a good comparison.
Very, very similarities.
Yeah.
There. So, and then from then, when you leave us, and we all cry, you are going on your hollybobs
Yes.
safari with Mr. Kevin.
Exactly.
You excited?
Very. I'm very excited. When Kevin was the one who basically got the stone rolling on this one. So when he basically said, because he was looking for some jobs here and there, and when he saw that all these jobs wanted him to commit for a longer time, he's like, I don't have that time because I need to get my 88 days done. So he's like, okay, just get the 88 days done, because then if I get them done, I can commit to whatever time frame a job wants me to commit to. So he's like, I'm gonna go to Darwin. And we kind of had this inside joke for a while, me and Kevin did, that I basically told him we need to go to Bali because when I arrived and then he arrived a couple of weeks later, basically every time that someone went somewhere or came back from somewhere, it was Bali. It was so creepy. Like for weeks, it was everyone. Oh, I just been to Bali.
Bali to Australia is like the UK to Spain.
Or Portugal.
Forget about that. But no, I've not been to Portugal or Spain, like not a day back. Because that's what I get told. Oh yeah, Bali is like Spain to this is Australia, Spain. So you're like Bali. Have you really got stuff planned to do in Bali, or are you just going to see take each day as it comes?
So we have a plan, and we decided where we actually wanted to go. We didn't want to do Central Bali because both of us aren't in that touristy.
Yeah.
So where we actually going is Nusa Lembongan, which is like a small island just east of Bali. So we're going to be taking a ferry there, like 30, 45, depending on the direction of the wind, is like 30 to 45 minutes ferry. So yeah, we know that we're gonna be on the small island for 10 days. Booked into a hostel, a Mad Monkey one.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, yeah, I know about the mad monkeys. I bet they may be really.
It looks really nice. And yeah, so just excited to for me, my plans are, just hanging out in Bali, soaking up the energy, connecting with the people there. Um, I
Being
think with
somewhere warm, being
yes, that's
somewhere
part of
warm
it.
and sunny weather.
Yes, Jordan, that is a
It's a
big
bit. I
part of
mean,
it.
it is sunny at the moment, but it's a bit cold at the moment here in Fremantle. It's around, I don't know, probably 10 or 11 degrees.
Feels like minus
This is kind of my territory. It's kind of my thing.
2.
Yeah, no, nice. That does sound exciting. And then of course you can
And
go to Darwin and there.
and then we're gonna go to Darwin because yeah, that's what I told him. Like when you're going to Darwin now, we have to go to Bali
Yeah.
because of that thing that we were saying. Like,
Were you so because being up in the Northern Territory now, will you try and go to Ulu? Will you go to down to Ulu and down to Alice Springs? Or do you think not at the moment? Maybe get my days done and then I'll go and visit. Or is it something you kind of think, you know, everyone goes to Ulu, maybe not at the moment.
right. So pretty confident that I won't be doing Uluru in the next few months, just because 88 days, you're working full
Yeah.
time. You need to be working full time for it to qualify for the visa extension. So Um, yeah, I don't think that I will have enough time, and I accept that. I accept that the next few months after Bali will just be filled with work. Well, it's what needs to be done to
Yeah.
get the visa extended. Um, but once, obviously, then that's done. The whole point of it is being able to do whatever I
Yeah.
want. Um, so the question, actually, to be completely honest, never was a thing that was in my. I need to see it.
Yeah.
Now that I've spoken to some people, and some people, I don't know if you met Marcel. I don't think you did.
No, I don't
Danish
think I
guy
did.
who did his 88 days in Alice Springs.
Oh, no, yes, I did.
Did
He was
you?
in my room, yes. He
Oh
was
yes,
in my room,
yes, he
because he told me
was.
about because he was telling me about the story about the Danish girl that got attacked by,
Yes.
2 Aboriginal people, and I
Yes.
remember him telling me about that. Yeah, no, I met Marcel because I did
Yes.
ask him bits and pieces about Alice Springs and stuff. But yeah,
No, yes, actually, you did meet him. Yeah. No, so he was one of the people, I think that initially told me about Uluru and how he actually found it very impressive,
yeah,
and he didn't thought he would. And a bunch of other people told me similar stories. So, I mean, obviously, if I went to see it, I would probably not regret it.
yeah,
But
no,
it's not like I need to see it. Like if whatever I do, like plans happen, if
yeah,
I
no,
do things
absolutely.
and I don't see it, I'm not gonna be sad at all.
Yeah, no, I get you on that one. And it's quite interesting. Like you telling me, I mean, we've had a really good conversation so far, and we're slowly starting to wind up. But the last part of this like conversations, I actually want to talk about you doing this podcast because
Sure.
you know, I've done the podcast and it was a very good episode. Still number one.
It
I
is.
feel like this one should overtake it. So tell me what got you into doing podcasting? Like going back to like this. I mean, this could link back to a music thing. Did you like listen to podcasts? When you were younger, growing up, and did you think maybe no, maybe I could do it? And then yeah, what kind of got you into doing all of the podcasting and that?
Yeah. Pretty much like you said. So with me always being creative and um trying to get myself out there, and using all sorts of creative outlets. Actually, at a time where which it is closely linked to rapping as well, where I also wrote a bit, like I wrote poems.
Nice.
I and then because yeah, it's similar to like writing rap lyrics, not completely the same, but it's kind of similar. And then I also wrote stories because I just enjoyed like writing some stories. starting to write a few like book ideas and stuff like that. Like, so I always tried myself at creative outlets. And when I was like 14, 15, I think was about the time that the whole podcasting thing even started. And obviously, the first one that made it popular was Joe Rogan. So he was definitely the first podcast that I listened to regularly. I
Yeah.
just enjoyed the format immensely because um, sometimes I recognize the name, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm super happy to just hear a conversation with this person that I know." Sometimes I didn't recognize the name, and I read the description. It's like, "Oh, he's an astrophysicist who just got," and I'm like, "Sounds interesting." But he
Yeah.
just had a bunch of all over the place people on his show, and so I listened to him back then quite a lot, especially when I was like, yeah, still going to school, had the time to like listen to a lot of podcasts. After school, when I was studying and stuff, I also had a time where I then didn't listen to podcasts a lot anymore, as well. But yeah, I got a bunch of other podcasts then as well that I like to listen to, and it's always been part of my media consumption.
Yeah.
So it's always been part of, if there's a good podcast, I'll definitely listen to it before I would listen to the next, I don't know, Taylor Swift album. I'm listening to this Taylor Swift album anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So for me, it's like a medium that I definitely consume regularly. Um, so the idea of me potentially using this media as a creative outlet as well um, established itself relatively early as well. I think when I was like 16, 17, I was also talking to people about, yeah, maybe I'll start a podcast,
Yeah.
maybe I'll have one day. But I'd never really, like, there was never really that idea where I was like, okay, let's do it now. So with that in the back of my head, and then just going through life, going off to study, going off to Portugal to work, all these things, life just happens. And then I was in New Zealand, and in New Zealand I started working a lot in hostels. So I was managing hostels there for a while, um, and work in other departments in the hostel as well. And then the hostel in Christchurch that I was managing, um, there basically I just realized one day, because you talk to everyone that comes into the hostel, right? So you literally know every single person that's in on the property. So just one evening, I told my friend, it's crazy because in this hostel, there's so many interesting people. Like, there's literally not one person that I wouldn't have a conversation with because I feel like you can learn from every single person. And then the podcast thing just came back into my head. And I just said, uh, yeah, don't you think like you could do a podcast just talking with travelers and people would listen to that? And then my friend Santiago, who actually is episode number one, because he then volunteered to do my very first episode. He looked at me and he just went, "Yes, Mike, it's a great idea. Just do it." And I was like, "Okay."
I went from there.
And that's literally it. He told me, "Just do it." And I was like, "You're right." And that's when the podcast started. And from that day on, I decided, okay, I need to release every week because even though it is a hobby, I do want to take it as keep myself accountable. So from that moment on, said, okay, one episode every week, and that's how it started. And once you get going, it just became part of my life now.
I like that. That's very good. Do you have any episodes or stories which are very like still memorable? Like which ones on all the people you've spoken to, me included? Is there people you've kind of like stories have kind of stuck in your brain, stuck in your mind, and gone? Actually, that's kind of still fascinating, or that's interesting.
Yeah. So I would have to
I'm
say,
really testing you here.
no, that's all right. I would say because there's one episode that I did that is just inherently different than all the others. Which is funny because it actually came up yesterday with Felix as well. So when this episode comes out, this would be last week's episode with Felix. I already mentioned it. Um, because we had in our hostel in Christchurch, we had someone come in and he actually was an author. He was a New Zealand author and
Oh, okay.
he wrote books, like poetry books. He was poetry, but also like writing short stories. And basically he checked in and I saw this book and I was like, "Oh, what book are you reading?" And he's like, "I'm actually not reading it. It's like it's my book. I just brought it because I came from this convention and he was talking about it." And I was like, "Oh, it's your book. Wow." And the cool thing about that as well was because I think he came into the hostel 3 or 4 days after I decided to do a podcast, so I felt it being like a sign, "Okay, this person shows up now." So I just asked him, I'm like, I'm sorry, to ask you this, but I'm literally started the podcast, half a week ago. I recorded 1 episode. You would be my 2nd ever person that I do this with. But would you be okay if I read your book and then so I asked him how long he's gonna stay here, and he's like, "Yeah, 2 nights." So the first night was already because he checked in the evening. So there was basically a whole day, and then afterwards he's leaving. So he says, "Yeah, I'm basically gonna be here 1 day, more." And I'm like, "Would you be okay if I take that book of you, if I read your book, and then tomorrow evening or we do a 1-hour episode about your book?" And he was like, "I think that's a challenge I'm up for." And
I like that.
so I think it's episode 2 and might be episode 3, depending on how I release them. But one of the early episodes with Kevin, his name's Kevin Moran. Funny enough, actually it's
Kevin.
Kevin, yeah, but um, and it's basically his book how he lived with the River Tribe, which is like a hippie community in the north of the South Island of New Zealand. So the story itself to me was just very
Yeah.
appealing, and I really enjoyed that format of like me doing um kind of like journalistic work because read the book, did questions trying to put a timeline and actually because he also said because he took it like completely serious. He's like, yeah, I got that 1 hour spot. So I knew that I only have 1 hour to interview him.
Yeah.
So I had to really structure the whole thing, write my questions out. And at the end, I think we did a great job and we got a good episode in showcasing all the ideas in his book. So that's an episode that's definitely very special. And both to me and also the story is quite a
Yeah.
nice and good story. So I would say that one. Um, Another one is actually also very early on, might actually also be episode 3 or 4, um, with this, Maori guy whose name was Matt, and, um, episode ended up being like 2 hours, 22 minutes, which is to date the longest
Oh,
episode I've
wow.
ever did, and I think this episode kind of was the reason why I started to go like, "Okay, maybe I should look into it just being like 1.5 hours." Because at that point I didn't care, it was like one of my yeah, the 3rd or 4th I recorded. So I was like, okay, we're just talking here. And he had so much to tell as well. Like um, being Maori, we went a lot into the Maori
Yeah.
culture. Him actually growing up in gangs and his father being like a very important figure in a gang. So
Oh,
he
wow.
actually
Okay.
had this sort of story in him being in prison and he like transparently conveying his whole story and um, conveying it honestly and openly and making it so that we learn from his lessons as well, I think is one of the greatest episodes. At least for me, I enjoy talking to him. I don't know how these ideas transpire to the people who listen to them, but I
Mhm.
quite found his story very, very touching. And because I knew him as a friend as well, like
Yeah.
he stayed in the hostel for, I think, 3, 4 months. So I knew him as a friend. And um, he's just a very reflective person, like, a lot of stuff happened in his past, but he learned from it, and it's good to see when people use all that they know to then teach people about life. So definitely that. I mean, because as you can tell, like, those are very two very distinctive things. I think it's hard for any other story to be like, for me now to get out, because I could tell you
You can tell me.
30.
Yeah.
Because everyone I do a podcast with obviously has a good story that I think, and obviously that's why I do the podcast,
Yeah.
because I wanna learn, and I do, from every single one. I'm
And
like,
you want to let people tell their stories, you know.
exactly. But I mean, obviously, with most of my people that I talk with actually being travelers, because I do meet the people in the
Yeah.
hostel. Like, that's where I get most or all of my guests. So there is things that are quite similar. Obviously, it's not the same stories, but it's overall a similar thing. So I wouldn't feel good to say like, oh yeah, their travel story was especially,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Matt and Kevin would be two where I say they're just very distinct
Yeah.
to everything else that I did afterwards.
Well, I think that kind of brings us to a close. Thank you for letting me have a chance to talk to you. Thank you for on the head, you know. Thank you for letting me to ask you questions and to hear your story. It's good to hear your story. You know, you don't normally get to hear the other person's who's doing its story, so it's nice to
Yeah.
hear it. And also, as we're saying this, it is very cold. I feel it's getting colder, so
It is, eh?
I really hope you enjoy Bali, and I really hope you enjoy being in the sunshine, being in the heat, and being with Kevin. Now, if you need any tips about Kevin, just let me know. I mean, I share a room with him. He
You would
doesn't
be the
snore, but he's all right. But you know, don't worry. But he doesn't sleep all sleep talk, so it's okay.
Oh, he doesn't.
No,
That's kind of yeah. I was open for entertainment.
it can still happen, you know. And yeah, so because this will be the last this is gonna be the last interview in Perth, in Fremantle. I feel like this will be your last podcast before you travel. So
Well, I mean, the last one that's going to be released.
yeah, the last to be released, not the last. Goodness God, no, not the last one, but no, I felt kind of like emotional, but we're not emotional. But I just kind of feel like, oh, that's sad. But, no, but I can't wait to hear the rest of your podcast. I can't wait when you finally get Kevin to do his one. I feel like
Yes.
that's gonna be an interesting one.
That needs to
And
happen.
I can't wait to hear all your other podcasts when you go up to Darwin. And also, I'll probably see you in Darwin at some point. I'll come and travel up and come and
I'd
annoy you.
love to
but-
see you up in Darwin.
of course. But also remember, it's never goodbye.
Chris.
It's see you later. See you later.